I would even argue to some degree, I don't know how much that latter of the two, the luck just happens kind of thing, even exists. You take some of the most obvious examples and most popular examples, like for example, the modern example of Justin Bieber. This 12-year-old kid just randomly gets discovered and becomes a pop star. And while that is to some degree true, like you could also look at it from the other's perspective of, well, here's this kid that had to practice to learn us. Let's take it from the
Oh,
bigger end.
yeah.
He had to take the time to post the video that was seen. He had
Oh,
time
yeah, absolutely.
to go out and busk. He was on the street playing, like, and take it from there. He had to learn the song. He had to practice the song, like going back and back and back. There were so many steps before he even, as a 12-year-old kid, got discovered. So, like, was he
Oh
lucky?
my God, yeah.
Sure, but like, there
Oh,
was all these
geez,
steps. You know what I mean?
what's killing me. I mean, that's why I'm kind of almost jumping out of my seat around this Justin Bieber thing. I cannot believe that there are people out there trying to use Justin Bieber as the poster child for just being lucky. It's
Oh,
like,
sure.
man, like if I tried to replace Justin Bieber in any of the categories that makes Justin Bieber like great, I would fail at everything. And I would, it's like, Justin Bieber just does not seem like a person that lacks talent to me, or that
Sure.
is merely lucky. So, I certainly wouldn't go jumping out there and trying to put a name on who that person would be that is just
Mm.
lucky. But man, it
Sure,
ain't
sure.
Justin Bieber. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
That guy's got
Absolutely.
plenty of talent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, very, very, very interesting conversation. And I actually appreciate that little that where we went with that, because I think it's inspiring to a lot of people to be able to hear that. It's like, oh, it's not, I just, you can create your own luck. You don't have to necessarily go out and like just be lucky, but it takes work to be lucky, quote unquote, if you want to call it luck, right?
Yeah, that's
Takes
right. It
work to
does.
be
And let's go into
opportunity.
this. Yeah, yeah, totally. And here's, I think, another thing that I feel like it's important to point out just for me. Like, I have to watch myself for all this stuff, right? Because like
Absolutely,
my
man.
my awareness can atrophy and kind
Oh
of
yeah.
metastasize into negative thinking. I do it.
100%.
And the thing that I really
Yeah.
need to do for my own good is figure out a way to be genuinely respectful and genuinely happy about other people's success,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and not and not kind of like cloak my jealousy in something about like, they don't really deserve that, or I don't like their thing. It's like, well, you may not like their thing, but you start getting into this narrative about whether or not somebody deserves something or if they're lucky or not. It's like, you know what, you're doing a lot of damage to yourself
Sure.
when you just don't get behind, because I think they call this tall poppy syndrome. So
Okay.
a culture that has tall poppy syndrome, it's sort of like, I'm making this up as I go along, and I apologize, but I think there's this kind of collective unspoken consensus that, hey, if somebody achieves too much and rises too high and it's a tall poppy, let's cut them down.
Mm,
Right? So they don't
sure.
really want any individuals excelling too much because it
Sure.
makes people feel bad about their own mediocrity.
Sure.
Right. So so I think one of the best antidotes to buying into and investing somehow, even subconsciously, in your own mediocrity is to just be like, no, 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 no. I'm not tearing down those tall poppies. I'm not getting with the mob. I'm not doing that. It doesn't mean you're instantly going to be like, repaid for that somehow. It's
Sure.
like,
Sure.
you know what I
Sure.
mean? It just means that, like, in the long term, I think it's a bad idea
Yeah.
to get invested in, even if you don't celebrate those individuals. If you're
Yeah.
engaged inside and kind of ripping them down, I think that might be bad for you.
100%. And it's funny. A tall poppy syndrome sounds a bit like socialism to me, but
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Well, I think there are economic reasons for that, because a
sure.
lot a lot of the socialist economics are based off of like things like quotas that are top down. So this part of the economy will deliver this amount of stuff, and then and that's a quota, and it's to be fulfilled. And if somebody in the factory is working too hard, well, then that might raise the bar of expectation
Sure. Sure.
that
Sure.
that the
Yeah.
top of the bureaucracy would then start to demand from everyone. And
Yeah.
so they get mad at the person who's making everyone else work harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could see the economic incentive within a socialist idea for tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.